I pissed my teacher off. Story time. So when I was younger, I wasn't necessarily a bad kid, but I had a really smart mouth. Like, if I felt like I was being disrespected, even if you were an adult, I would disrespect you back. And sometimes it would get me into a lot of trouble. So I used to have this teacher, and her name was Miss Wiener. I wish I was making that up, but her actual name is Miss Wiener. And she was one of the worst teachers I've ever had. Like, super strict for no reason. She was the type of teacher to keep you after the bell rang. Anyways, one day after I had gym, I was all hot, all sweaty, so I decided to take my water bottle to Miss Wiener's class. So I'm in her class, sitting at my desk, and I'm drinking my water bottle, and Miss Wiener comes up to me, catches this nasty attitude, and she's like, "No food, no drink in my classroom." And she snatches my water bottle out my hand and throws it into the trash can. And I said, "Miss Wiener, you remind me of my grandmother's bird. Evil, and I wish you were dead." She was so pissed.
Am I the asshole for refusing to change my baby's name? When my husband and I found out that I was pregnant with my first baby at 24, we were overjoyed. My parents were the first to know, and they too were ecstatic. My husband's parents, however, were not. They're super religious and didn't approve of the fact that we got pregnant so young. At that point, we had both finished college and had been maintaining well-paying jobs for several years. We were settled with the house thanks to our generous amount of savings. So we just ignored the negativity and thrived off of the continual support of the rest of the family. When we found out that we were having a little girl, we started thinking of names. We decided not to have a gender reveal party since we thought it was a waste of money. Instead, we told close family and made a Facebook post to announce it to everyone else. When we finally decided on the name Blair, my in-laws finally came out of the woodwork. They hadn't been involved in the pregnancy at any point, but this seemed to enrage them beyond belief. They berated me for not choosing a biblical or family name and demanded that we change it. I politely told them that I was an atheist and we would not be choosing a biblical name simply because they wanted it. My mother-in-law called me to tell me I'm selfish and disrespectful, and my father-in-law refused to speak to me.
My teacher used to pick on me for being gay. Story time. When I was a child, I had a teacher who used to terrorize me for being more girlier than the rest of the boys in the class. She used to say awful things to me like, I can't act a certain way because I'm not a girl, or pink can't be my favorite color, I need to pick a boy color, or stop hanging out with so many girls, you need to hang out with the little boys. And for a long time, I didn't tell anybody. I let this lady pick on me for way too long. I eventually did tell, but that's a story time for another day. Anyways, one day around Halloween, she thought it would be fun to bring every single kid in the class a costume to wear for the day. Now, that sounded like fun until she started handing everybody their costumes, and when she got to me, she pulled out a fairy costume. And then she was like, well, since you always act like a fairy, I thought this costume would be appropriate for you. And me being a kid, I didn't even understand what she was trying to say to me, but the joke ended up being on her because I actually liked the costume, and so did all the little girls and boys in my class. Bitch.
Story time. My clients fought each other. As you all know, I took clients for about a year, and man, do I have stories. Not only that, but I was home-based. Now let's get into the story. So in my nail room, I had extra seats just in case clients came early or they want to bring guests. So in this case, my first client came to me late, so that means my second client had to wait a little bit at my seating station. So I'm still working on my first client. Let's just call her Tori. And she's talking about how she just recently got a boyfriend. And all my clients love spilling the tea. So my second client that was waiting, let's just name her Layla, could obviously hear us talking. And then Tori starts going into detail about her boyfriend, what he looks like, what school he goes to. And that's when Layla jumps into the conversation. It gets messy. Story time. My clients fought each other, part 2. So like I said in my previous video, Layla just jumped in the conversation, and girl, did she have questions. She would ask questions about his height, like what sport he played, and Tori was just answering all her questions. So y'all know me, I'm super nosy, so I was low-key connecting the dots. And then Layla said, we have similar boyfriends. So at this point, I'm just filing Tori's nails, and I think to myself, oh shit, it's about to go down. And then Layla pulls up a picture of the boyfriend and shows Tori. And then Tori said, that's my boyfriend. And Layla hit her with, that's my baby father. Part 3. Story time. My clients fought each other, part 3. So like I said in my previous video, Layla said that was her baby father. She has a whole kid with this dude. And Tori was denying it all, saying they've been talking for months and now they're finally dating. And then they start arguing. At this point, I'm already done Tori's nails. And Tori said she don't got time for this. Her boyfriend is outside to come pick her up, which is also Layla's baby father. Let's just name him Chris. So Chris pulls up and then my 2 clients just run out the door, trying to beat each other to the car door. And then they start to fight. And what does Chris do? He just drives away. So clearly he didn't care about either one of them. And they know that, so they stopped fighting. And now they're really good friends. Yeah, this actually did happen. It was very entertaining. If you want to send me your own story time, you can send it to
Am I the asshole for inviting my girlfriend on an expensive vacation and expecting her to pay all of her share? My girlfriend and I, my parents, my brother and his wife all went on vacation in another country a week ago. My girlfriend knew this trip was coming up and took on a second job waitressing on the weekends for several months to get ready for it. My brother and I were the ones who did most of the planning of the itinerary, although we did ask everyone else for input. For background, I make around $150,000 as an IT consultant. My girlfriend is a teacher making around $45,000. My parents are pretty affluent, as well as my brother and sister-in-law. We have always split things 50-50 in the 2 years we have been together. There were a few times on the vacation where she did not go on the outings with us, wine tasting, scuba diving, etc. She also would only eat 2 meals a day, stating simply that she was on a budget. My family does favor more high-end expensive places. My parents thought it was very strange that she only eats 2 meals a day, although she normally eats 3. I mentioned how I heard her stomach growling one night and said I was concerned about her having an eating disorder. When we got back home, I asked her why she skipped out on several of the outings and only ate 2 meals a day. She got teary-eyed and said that 3 meals a day wasn't physically feasible for her, and neither were the outings that she chose not to go on. She went on 3 of 6. She said she was not expecting everything to cost so much and she was overwhelmed. She also said she doesn't know if this is going to work long term if she's expected to go on vacations like that with people who make much more than her. I feel bad that I did not pick up on her discomfort sooner, but we did agree to split everything 50-50, and I don't know why she agreed to come if the cost was an issue. So am I the asshole for picking an expensive vacation? Am I the asshole for telling the truth at my best friend's wedding during my toast? I'm a 30-year-old male and my best friend got married last week. I just bought a house and my wife is expecting our son in November, so I let him know I was limited in what I could contribute financially. But I did tell him I would try my best. So I went to the bachelor party in Miami, I rented the tux, and paid for mine and my wife's dinner at the rehearsal dinner. I also had a gift of $300 that I was going to give them, but we will get to why I didn't. His fiancée at the time would text me multiple times a day with updates. Fine. I didn't always respond, and it got to the point where if I didn't respond at least once a day, I'd get a call from my buddy. She texted me for the following reasons. 1. My wife was not allowed to talk about our pregnancy at all. She didn't want anyone to focus on that more than her, the bride. 2. She was not going to order any special food for my wife. No one asked her to. My wife was fine with whatever she was going to be served. 3. I was not helping the groom enough. He had to help her with favors, seating charts, and programs, so I had to help him with those things according to her. 4. She said if I was a true best man, I would offer to pay for the bar bill. I don't even know what that means. 5. She had to read and approve my speech before the rehearsal dinner and wanted to be included as much as my buddy. She told me to make things up if I had to. I was not allowed to include anyone but the 2 of them, and no inside jokes or stories about my buddy that didn't include her. 6. Her last text said to tell my wife to keep it together and not make a pregnancy scene during the wedding. Also, she wanted her to choose a dress that downplayed her pregnancy as much as possible. I was just so aggravated, I spoke to my buddy to see if he could reason with her. He told me to just play ball this one time. It's her day and to cut him a break because he'd be dealing with her nonsense for the rest of his life. The day of, all the bride and my best friend do is scold me, berate me, and bark orders. I head down to the bar for the drink. The bride's mother is there and warned me not to get drunk because I ruined her daughter's day enough. That was the final straw. I didn't give them the card with the cash, and in the speech, I used my friend's exact wording about having to deal with her nonsense for the rest of his life. I wished him the best and told him I'd always be there for him, especially during the divorce. So, am I the asshole?